AITA for refusing to sell my house to fund my sister's wellness retreat wedding, because my parents say she prevents disease, while I just operate machines. Posted to r/am/asshole. I, 31M, have been a dialysis technician for 8 years. I work at a clinic where I help keep people with kidney failure alive. 3 days a week, sometimes more, I'm responsible for monitoring patients during their 4-hour dialysis sessions. I check their vitals, manage the machines, watch for complications, adjust treatments, and sometimes I'm the person holding someone's hand when they're terrified or in pain. My sister Emma, 27F, is a fitness influencer. She has about 400K followers on Instagram and does sponsored posts for protein powder, yoga mats, and various supplements. She talks a lot about preventing disease through wellness and choosing health. Our parents, 59M, 57F, have always been obsessed with her. I'm not exaggerating, it's been this way since we were kids. Here's some context that might help explain the situation. When I graduated from my certification program, my parents didn't come to the ceremony. My mom said they had a conflict, but then posted photos from Emma's spin class that same day. When I got promoted to senior technician, my dad asked if that meant I was still just pushing buttons for sick people. When Emma hit 100K followers, they threw her a party and invited the extended family. I've worked hard and saved money. 2 years ago, I bought a small 2-bedroom house in a modest neighborhood. Nothing fancy, 1,200 square feet, needed some work, but it's mine. I paid the down payment myself and have been slowly fixing it up. My parents have never visited. Emma got engaged 6 months ago to Marcus, 33M, who is a nephrologist. The irony of this is not lost on me. She's marrying a kidney doctor while I work with kidney patients daily. We've never really talked about my work because family gatherings tend to center around Emma's latest brand deal or wellness retreat. Last week, my parents called me with a proposal. They want me to sell my house and give them the proceeds, somewhere around $180,000 after the mortgage is paid off, to help fund Emma's dream wedding. She wants a wellness retreat wedding at a luxury resort in Costa Rica. The cost? About $250,000. My parents are contributing $50,000 of their own savings, and they've apparently decided my house should cover the rest. Here's the part that broke something in me. My mom said, and I quote, "Emma inspires healthy living for hundreds of thousands of people. She prevents disease. You just treat it after people are already sick. She's doing more important work, and this wedding will be a platform for her to reach even more people. You operate machines, honey. Emma changes lives." My dad chimed in, "We're not saying your job isn't useful. Someone has to run the equipment. But Emma is building something. Your house is just sitting there. You can always rent an apartment." I said no. I told them I wasn't selling my house for anyone's wedding. My mom started crying and said I was being selfish, that I've always been jealous of Emma, and that this is my chance to support the family for once. Emma texted me afterward saying she was disappointed in me and that she thought I'd be happy to help her celebrate love and wellness. She said my job is honorable in its own way, but that I should understand why what she does matters more to society. I haven't responded. Here's the thing, I keep thinking about my patients. Mrs. Patterson is 67 and has been on dialysis for 9 years. She's a grandmother who wants to see her grandkids grow up. Mr. Reyes is 45 and waiting for a transplant. He comes in 3 times a week and always brings me coffee because he says I'm the only reason he's still alive to hope for a new kidney. There's Darnell, who's 23 and was diagnosed with kidney failure at 19, and he's working toward his degree between sessions because he refuses to let his disease define him. These people trust me with their lives. Literally. If I miss a warning sign, if I don't catch a blood pressure drop or a clotting issue, they could die. I've had patience code on my watch. I've held people's hands while they cry because their fistula blew and they're in agony. I've explained to families why their loved one had a bad session. And my family thinks I just operate machines. I don't know what to do. Part of me feels like I should just accept that my parents will never see my work as valuable. But another part of me is so angry I can barely function. I've spent 8 years dedicating my life to helping people survive, and to my own family, I'm just a machine operator. Am I the asshole for refusing to sell my house? Am I being selfish? Should I try to find some way to contribute to the wedding even if I don't give everything? Update 1. Something happened at work that I need to share. It's been 2 weeks since my original post, and I want to thank everyone who commented. I read every single response, and I won't lie, I cried multiple times. Having strangers validate that my work matters meant more than I can express. Something happened yesterday that I need to process. One of my regular patients, Dr. Margaret Chen, 72F, is a retired therapist. She's been coming to our clinic for about 4 years now. We've always had good conversations during her sessions. She asks about my life, remembers details, genuinely seems interested. But yesterday was different. I was checking her vitals about 2 hours into her session when she looked at me and said, "Daniel, something is wrong. You've been distracted for weeks. Your smile doesn't reach your eyes anymore. What happened?" I don't know why, but I broke. Maybe it was the exhaustion, maybe it was the fact that this woman who I help keep alive noticed something my own parents never would, but I told her everything. About the wedding, about what my mom said, about feeling invisible my entire life. Dr. Chen was quiet for a long time. Then she said something that fundamentally changed how I see my childhood. "Daniel, what you're describing is textbook emotional neglect with a golden child/scapegoat dynamic. Your parents didn't just favor your sister, they systematically devalued you to elevate her. Every time they dismissed your achievements, every time they described your work as just something, they were reinforcing that your worth is conditional and lesser. This isn't about you being sensitive or jealous. This is about a pattern of emotional abuse that you've been conditioned to accept." I actually had to sit down. One of the other techs noticed and came over to take my place while I composed myself. Dr. Chen continued during the rest of her session. "The fact that they're asking you to literally liquidate your security, your home, to fund your sister's party tells you everything about how they view your place in the family. You are not a person to them. You are a resource. And the justification they gave, that preventing disease is more important than treating it, is not only medically absurd, it's a window into how they've rationalized treating you as lesser your entire life." She made me promise to find a therapist, and she gave me 3 recommendations. She also said something I'll never forget. "You know what I think about during dialysis? I think about the fact that without you, without the technicians who monitor me, who notice when my blood pressure drops, who make sure the machine is working correctly, I would die. Not might die. Would die. My kidneys are gone, Daniel. They're not coming back. All the yoga in the world, all the wellness retreats and green smoothies, cannot replace what you do for me 3 times a week. You keep me alive. That's not pushing buttons. That's holding my life in your hands." I went home and cried for 2 hours. I've started seeing a therapist. Her name is Dr. Williams, and she specializes in adult survivors of emotionally neglectful families. In our first session, she helped me see patterns I never noticed. How I always minimize my own achievements, how I apologize constantly, how I assume I'm bothering people by existing, how I've internalized my parents' view that my work is lesser. My parents have called multiple times. I haven't answered. Emma has sent several texts ranging from confused to annoyed to accusatory. She called me passive-aggressive for not responding. I'm just not ready to talk to any of them yet. But something else happened that I need to mention. Marcus, Emma's fiancé, sent me a text asking if we could meet for coffee. He said he wanted to discuss something, and that it was important. I haven't responded yet because I don't know what he wants. Is he going to pressure me about the house too? I'm anxious about it. I'll update when I know more. Update 2. I met with Marcus, and I was not prepared for this conversation. Okay. So this happened 3 days ago and I'm still processing it. I agreed to meet Marcus for coffee at a cafe near his hospital. I was expecting pressure, maybe guilt-tripping, or at best an awkward conversation where he tried to mediate between me and Emma. What I got instead was something I never anticipated. Marcus sat down, ordered a black coffee, and looked at me with an expression I can only describe as barely contained fury. But it wasn't directed at me. "Daniel," he said, "I need to apologize to you. And I need to tell you what happened this week." Apparently, Marcus had overheard Emma on the phone with our mom, discussing me. He heard our mom say the machine operator thing. He heard Emma say my job was honorable in its own way. He heard them talking about my house as if it were already sold, as if my refusal was just a temporary inconvenience they'd eventually overcome. Marcus is a nephrologist. He specializes in kidney disease. His entire career is built on helping people with failing kidneys, and he works closely with dialysis teams daily. "Do you have any idea," he said, his voice tight, "how I felt hearing my fiancé's family dismiss dialysis technicians? Do you know what your job means to me? To my patients." He told me about a patient he'd lost 6 months ago, a young woman, 29, who went into cardiac arrest during dialysis because a technician at a different clinic missed warning signs. He told me about the patients who survive because skilled technicians catch problems before they become catastrophic. He told me that in his field, dialysis technicians are considered essential partners in patient care, not machine operators. The idea that your family thinks Emma's Instagram posts about wellness are more valuable than what you do he stopped, took a breath. I'm sorry. I'm genuinely angry about this. I had no idea this was how they treated you. I didn't know what to say. I think I just stared at him for a while. Then he told me what he'd done. He'd sat Emma down that night and confronted her about what he'd heard. He'd told her that he couldn't marry someone who fundamentally disrespected a career that he considers vital to his patient's survival. He'd told her that he was deeply disturbed by the family dynamic and that he wouldn't participate in it. Emma, apparently, was shocked. She'd never thought about it from that perspective. Marcus told her that he wanted them to start premarital counseling immediately, specifically to address this issue, and that he wouldn't move forward with the wedding until she genuinely understood why what she'd said was harmful. I'm not doing this to punish her, Marcus said. I love Emma. But I can't build a life with someone who doesn't understand the value of what people like you do. My patients depend on dialysis teams. If my own wife dismisses that work, what does that say about how she sees my values? My career? The people I serve? I finally found my voice. I asked him if Emma had agreed to the counseling. She cried, he said. She was defensive at first. She said she never meant to hurt you, that she didn't realize how it sounded. But when I explained what dialysis technicians do, really do, she got quiet. I showed her case studies. I told her about the patient I lost. I explained that without skilled technicians, dialysis would just be a slow way to die. He paused. She asked me why no one had ever told her this before. And I realized, your family has been operating in a bubble. Your parents elevated Emma's work and diminished yours so consistently that she genuinely didn't understand what you do. She's not evil. She's been conditioned, just like you were, but in the opposite direction. She was taught her work saves lives and yours doesn't. It's not true, but it's what she was raised to believe. Marcus asked if I would be willing to talk to Emma after they'd had a few counseling sessions. He said he wasn't asking me to forgive or forget anything. He was asking if I'd give her a chance to genuinely understand and apologize. I told him I'd think about it. Before we left, he said one more thing. Daniel, I want you to know something. In my field, we call dialysis teams our partners in survival. Every nephrologist I know has profound respect for technicians. Your patients aren't surviving because of a machine. They're surviving because of you. The machine is just a tool. You're the one keeping them alive. I drove home in silence. When I got there, I sat in my car in the driveway of the house my parents wanted me to sell and cried. Again. Update 3. The counseling, the apology, and the conversation with my parents. It's been 6 weeks since my last update. A lot has happened. Emma and Marcus have been in intensive premarital counseling. From what Marcus has told me, it's been difficult but productive. Emma has had to confront a lot of assumptions she didn't even realize she held, not just about me, but about how she values different types of work in general. 2 weeks ago, Emma called me. Not texted, called. When I answered, she was already crying. Daniel, she said, I need to say something to you, and I need you to let me finish before you respond. Please. I agreed. What followed was the most real conversation I've ever had with my sister. She told me that through counseling, she'd realized she had absorbed our parents' hierarchy of value without ever questioning it. She'd been told her whole life that her work was special, transformative, world-changing. She'd been told my work was necessary but lesser, the backstage work while she was the star. And she'd never stopped to think about whether any of that was true. Marcus took me to his clinic, she said. He introduced me to the dialysis team. He showed me what they do. He explained the complications they watch for, the emergencies they handle, the training they need. And then he asked me if I thought any of those patients would survive on wellness tips alone. She paused, gathering herself. I felt so stupid, Daniel. So unbelievably stupid. Because the answer is obviously no. Without dialysis, without the people who run it, those patients would die. Period. And I've been walking around thinking my protein powder sponsorships were more important than that. She apologized. Really, genuinely apologized. Not a sorry you feel that way non-apology, but a real acknowledgement that she had hurt me, devalued me, and participated in a family system that treated me as lesser. I'm not asking you to forgive me immediately, she said. I know I haven't earned that. I just needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. And I'm so sorry. I told her I needed time. She said she understood. Then, 4 days ago, something else happened. My parents called. Both of them, together. They wanted to discuss the wedding situation. I almost didn't answer, but my therapist had been encouraging me to set boundaries directly rather than avoiding conflict, so I picked up. The conversation started predictably. My mom launched into how I'd been difficult and selfish. My dad said they were disappointed in my lack of family loyalty. They said they'd reconsidered and decided that even if I wouldn't sell the house, I could at least contribute $30,000 from my savings to do my part. I let them talk. I didn't interrupt. When they finished, I said, "Let me tell you about my day today." I described Mrs. Patterson's session that morning, how her blood pressure had dropped suddenly, how I'd caught it in time, how I'd worked with a nurse to stabilize her. I described the new patient we trained, a 51-year-old man who was terrified, and how I'd spent an hour walking him through the process, answering his questions, calming his fears. I described Darnell showing me his latest grades, how he'd made the dean's list while managing dialysis 3 times a week. "These are the people I just operate machines for," I said. "These are the lives I hold in my hands every single day. And you want me to sell my home, my security, my stability, to fund a party. You're asking me to sacrifice my future for a wedding because you think Emma's work matters more than mine." My mom started to interrupt, but I kept going. "I'm not going to do that. Not because I'm selfish. Because I deserve to have stability. I deserve to have a home. I've worked hard for what I have, and my work has value, real, tangible, life or death value. You can choose not to see that. But I'm not going to live by your hierarchy anymore." There was a long silence. My dad finally said, "We're not saying your job doesn't have value." "Yes, you are," I interrupted. "You literally said Emma changes lives and I operate machines. You compared her Instagram posts to the work I do keeping critically ill people alive. You've been saying this my whole life, in 100 different ways." I just finally started listening. My mom tried a different angle. "We're just trying to give Emma a beautiful wedding. Don't you want your sister to be happy?" "I want Emma to be happy," I said. "I also want to be treated like my life matters. I'm not sure why those two things have to be in conflict." The conversation ended without resolution. My parents were upset. I was exhausted. But for the first time in my life, I'd said what I actually felt instead of apologizing and minimizing. Update 4, Final: the wedding, the speech, and the future. It's been 3 months since my last update. I need to tell you all what happened. The Costa Rica Wellness Retreat wedding didn't happen. After our conversation, after the counseling, after Marcus's ultimatum, things shifted. Emma made a decision that genuinely surprised me. She called me about 6 weeks ago and asked if we could meet in person. I agreed. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our places, and she came with a folder full of papers. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she said. "About the wedding, about our family, about what I actually want versus what I thought I was supposed to want." She told me she'd realized the Costa Rica wedding wasn't really about celebrating her marriage. It was about performing success, about creating content, about living up to an image she'd built. When she stripped away the Instagram expectations, what she actually wanted was to marry Marcus surrounded by people she loved, in a place that felt meaningful. "So I'm changing everything," she said. She showed me the new plans. A modest ceremony at a local botanical garden. A reception at a restaurant she and Marcus loved. Total cost, about $15,000. Her and Marcus were paying for it themselves. "I don't want Mom and Dad's money," she said. "And I definitely don't want yours. I want to start my marriage without this cloud over it. Without feeling like I asked my brother to sacrifice his home for my party." I didn't know what to say. "There's something else," she continued. "I want you to be part of the ceremony. Not as a regular guest. I want you to do a reading, or say something. I want everyone there to know how important you are to me." I told her I'd think about it. Over the next few weeks, Emma and I talked more than we had in years. Real conversations, about our childhood, about our parents, about the dynamics that shaped us. She told me things I never knew, that our parents had pressured her constantly to perform, that her entire sense of self-worth was tied to external validation, that she'd spent years feeling like she'd fail them if she didn't become special. "We were both damaged," she said. "Just in different ways. I was told I had to be exceptional or I'd be worthless. You were told you were already worthless. Neither of us was allowed to just be okay." It didn't excuse what she'd said, but it helped me understand it. The wedding was last weekend. It was small, about 60 people. The botanical garden was beautiful, all autumn colors and soft light filtering through the trees. Emma looked genuinely happy, not performatively happy. Marcus looked at her like she was the only person in the world. When it came time for my reading, I walked to the front of the gathering. I'd prepared something, but in the moment, I set my notes aside. Most of you know Emma as a wellness influencer, I said. Someone who inspires people to live healthier lives. What you might not know is that I'm a dialysis technician. I work with patients whose kidneys have failed, helping them survive through treatment 3 times a week. I looked at Emma, who was watching me with tears already forming. For a long time, I thought those two things were opposites. Prevention versus treatment. Success versus whatever I am. But I've learned something over the past few months. Prevention and treatment aren't opposites, they're partners. The people I work with, the patients I help keep alive, many of them are fighting for the chance to get healthier. They're hoping for transplants. They're changing their diets, managing their conditions, working toward futures they might not have had without dialysis. Emma's work, when it reaches those people, gives them something to hope for. My work gives them the time to get there. I paused. So today, as Emma and Marcus start their life together, I want to say this: I'm proud of my sister. Not because she has followers or sponsorships, but because she's done something harder than any wellness routine. She looked at herself honestly. She changed. She grew. And she came to understand that keeping people alive so they can pursue health, that's valuable work too. I looked at the guests, at Marcus's colleagues, some of whom I now knew were nephrologists and nurses who worked with dialysis teams. To Emma and Marcus, may your marriage be a partnership as strong as the one between prevention and treatment. May you keep each other alive and keep each other striving. I love you both. I sat down. Emma was openly crying. Marcus mouthed, "Thank you." After the ceremony, Emma pulled me aside. "I have something to tell you," she said. "I've been working on a new initiative. Marcus helped me develop it." She showed me her phone. Her Instagram was open to a new highlight called Kidney Health Awareness. She'd started creating content about kidney disease, about prevention, yes, but also about treatment, about dialysis, about the technicians who make survival possible. "This one's already gone viral," she said, showing me a post. It was a video of her visiting Marcus's clinic. She'd interviewed dialysis technicians, asking them about their work. She'd shown the machines, explained the process, talked about the skill and attention required. At the end, she looked at the camera and said, "I used to think what I did was more important than what treatment workers do. I was wrong. Prevention matters. Treatment matters. And the people who keep patients alive while they fight for their health, they deserve our respect, our appreciation, and our support. My brother is one of those people. This is for him, and for every dialysis technician who holds lives in their hands." It had 3 million views. I stared at the screen for a long time. "I'm not going to pretend this fixes everything," Emma said quietly. "But I want to do better. I want to use my platform for something real. And I want you to know that I see you now. I really see you." I hugged my sister. I think it was the first genuine hug we'd shared in years. Where we are now. My parents haven't really changed. They came to the wedding, but they were subdued, uncomfortable with the modest venue, the small guest list, the lack of spectacle. They haven't apologized. My therapist says they might never, and I'm learning to accept that. But I've changed. I've stopped waiting for their approval. I've stopped minimizing my work. When people ask what I do, I don't say, "I just work in dialysis." I say, "I keep people with kidney failure alive." Because that's the truth. Emma and I talk regularly now. She's thrown herself into kidney health advocacy with the same energy she once devoted to supplement sponsorships. Marcus jokes that he's created a monster. His wife now knows more about nephrology than half his colleagues. Last week, Emma posted a new video, Dialysis Technician Appreciation. It featured interviews with technicians from 5 different clinics, including mine. My patients were so excited when they found out I was related to that wellness influencer who actually gets it now. Mrs. Patterson told me she'd shared the video with her entire family. "Finally," she said, "someone famous explaining what you do for us. Maybe now people will understand." I think about my house sometimes, the one my parents wanted me to sell. I'm still fixing it up, slowly. I painted the bedroom last month. I'm planning to redo the kitchen next year. It's not much, but it's mine. I earned it. And nobody is going to take it from me. To everyone who responded to my original post, who validated my work and my worth, thank you. You helped me see myself clearly for the first time in my life. And to any other machine operators out there, dialysis techs, rad techs, respiratory therapists, anyone whose work is dismissed as just something, you are not just anything. You are essential. You hold lives in your hands. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. TLDR, Parents wanted me to sell my house to fund sister's $250,000 wellness retreat wedding because she prevents disease, while I just operate machines as a dialysis tech. Through therapy, a retired therapist patient's intervention, and my sister's nephrologist fiancé being furious that dialysis work was dismissed, my sister went through premarital counseling, gained genuine understanding, and had a modest local wedding where she thanked me for keeping people alive so they can get healthy. She now advocates for kidney health awareness and dialysis technician appreciation. Parents still haven't changed, but I have. My house is still mine.